think Dan Kwekuyeboah has been listening. I mean, Dan, how do you respond to the concerns that have been raised? I mean, and Dan is obviously with the LOC.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity, Evans. One thing we must not lose sight of is that this is the first time Ghana is organizing a multi-sport event. And if you do comparison with respect to the strength of our economy, especially when it comes to the spending, to a large extent, I will agree with you. But if you do comparison, for example, what my brother Gary was alluding to,
World Athletics Championship.
World Athletics Championship. It's a single event. No matter how well it was organized, it's a single event. This is 29 disciplines. It's a competition that involves 29 disciplines. So obviously, the challenges will not be the same as organizing a single event. Of course, some of the mistakes that have occurred were avoidable. But we must also admit that for Ghana as a country, it is a learning process for us.
Really?
Yes.
How long have we had to prepare for this game?
Evans, it's a different thing to learn something, and it's a different thing to practically experience.
We won the right in 2018.
Won the right in 2018. But so the LOC was put together 2 years after. And then immediately we were put together, COVID set in. Just as we're about gaining ground, the impasse between the African Union, ANOCA, and UCSA also cropped up. So we had our challenges. That is not to say we should justify some of the happenings.
But how did that impasse affect our preparations?
No, it did. Let me tell you why. Sponsorship is one area that were badly affected. You go to a sponsor and ask for a sponsorship support, and he tells you when is the games happening, and you'll be stuck. You don't know what to tell the sponsor. And no serious sponsor would want to deal with a group that does not know when the event is happening.
So we began active preparation for this when?
When the impasse was resolved.
So this is when? Last year or the year before?
February last year.
That was last year. And it took the intervention of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for the impasse to be resolved.
When you say impasse, between...
We had to, between the stakeholders, ANOCA, UCSA, and AU. You know, the AU are the custodians of the games.
The others didn't want to participate.
When they held the Morocco tournament, they had a tripartite agreement that going forward, we're going to organize the games based on ABC. AU unilaterally decided to cancel the tripartite agreement. And the rest of the group said, no way. It is either we boycott it or you bring us in. We flew them to Kempinski. We couldn't solve the problem. It took His Excellency Nana Addo to fly to Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. The main business he was going to do there was an AU meeting, but he had to spend time on the flip side to attend that meeting, spend about 3 hours, sit in the meeting to ensure the impasse was resolved. It was only after that we saw our way clear. So quite apart from the fact that
this was February last year.
February last year. So quite apart from the fact that we do not have the experience of having organized a multi-sport competition, these were also the challenges that we faced. So we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves.
No, we have to be. I mean, especially when especially when you're spending that much. And I have said, this is not criticism. The amount in itself and the timing is a whole different conversation. But once you decide to spend that much, you better get it right. You don't disagree with that. I mean, what we've seen now is that we spend on infrastructure. But we actually brought a lot of negative publicity on ourselves because of the way we managed the whole process of the games themselves.
Well, to some extent, you can't run away from the fact that there have been some negatives.
It's been shambolic.
But equally, there have been so many positives as well. A lot of Ghanaians were watching the opening ceremony and they were amazed. Some were just opposing the opening ceremony of the African Games with La Côte d'Ivoire. And they all drew conclusion that indeed this was a better one. There are a lot of positives. When the tournament started, Ghana moved from 0 medals to 4 medals in a day or 2.
But we've been stuck at 4.
Yes, but it tells you that before the competition...
Egypt is at 75.
No, if it took you 2 days to amass 4 medals. It is possible that by the end of the competition, you can amass more than 20. It is possible.
But Evans, a lot of the things Dan is saying here are, I understand his job, but the reality is that everything we're seeing is because we have not planned. Like from the government to the sports ministry, have not planned for these games.
No, that is.
Dan was aware of the Commonwealth Games in 2018. There was a seminal moment in Ghana's participation at that tournament. The cycling team did not have the appropriate cycling equipment. There was a young man in Queensland named Peter Spencer. Listeners can Google him up. He saw the equipment the Ghanaian team was using and then approached them and told them that what you have did not match the quality required to compete at that level. It was the same aluminium bicycles that they were using.
No, but
so he
they did a fiber, right?
Just let me finish. So he started a GoFundMe for the team. The response from Ghana's Deputy Director for the Youth and Sports, Robert Safo-Mensah, was that we're not a poor country, we sent bicycles, we're not broke and all of that. Mohamed Sanoun, who was the CDM and also the president of cycling, he knew better. So he clarified and said, we did send bicycles. And here's the catch. Robert Safo-Mensah was referencing the equipment Ghana sent to the previous Olympic Games as the same ones they gave to the cyclists to go and perform.
Wow.
Now, we won the hosting bid for the African Games in the same year, 2018. After that embarrassment of a local cycler starting a GoFundMe to provide or procure appropriate carbon fiber road bicycles for Ghana's cycling team, in the year that we won the hosting right, one of the things, if we were futuristic and had planned for these games, one of the things we would have done is to find a way to raise the funds because cycling is not cheap.
Yeah.
Some of those carbon fiber bicycles can cost up as much as $5,000. So you know that.
But in the grand scheme of things, if you spend 242 million, you should be able to afford.
So I'm saying that
5 million.
Even if that's
if you plan for it.
Yes, even if that's not how much you spent, you need to have a plan in place, knowing that cycling is not rich. But we didn't. Now, even for some of the other issues, right? Like for example, the badminton equipment, they are not the only sports that had their equipment arriving late. And that's why for me, I will always say we did not plan for the games. The day before the table tennis competition started, I was at the conference center Dome when the African president was there to inspect the facilities that we had imported. So we imported 2 sets of equipment, one butterfly and then the DHL equipment for the table tennis competition. The African president inspected it and then said the butterfly equipment did not meet the specification. So if, for those who were there and those who watched Joy Sports and Joy News Reporter, you realize that at some portions of the footage that you will see butterfly equipment, but the main one that were being used that actually met specifications were the DHL. They arrived days before the tournament started. But we were fortunate because whoever advised the LOC and governments advised we purchase 2 sets of equipment, but they arrived late. We got lucky, and so the DHL was.
So the ones we got right, why are you claiming it was luck?
No, but I'm telling you that in the case of badminton,
if we got it right, it is luck. If we didn't get it right, it did not.
But that's to your credit. But that's to your credit.
So that's your credit. Otherwise, don't say that we were lucky.
But Dan, let Dan answer some specific questions. Yeah. Dan, why is it that you have your athletes using aluminium bikes?
No, you know, I find it very difficult to understand the dynamics of this whole conversation when it comes to equipment. Just this evening, we had a press conference. 8 federation heads were present. And the minister said that they gave the specifications to the ministry to purchase the equipment. And none of them refuted that statement.
And the access to buy aluminium bikes?
That I can't tell. What I'm saying is that the minister stated categorically that all the specifications were from the federations. And none of the 8 federation heads denied that.
Yeah, but you've heard the athletes, right?
No, what I'm saying is that if you analyze what the minister said, it means that if we got it wrong, it did not come from the ministry.
But what are those?
Yeah, but others who are competing in cycling had fiber bikes.
Evans, I am the sports minister. You are the head of Ghana Cycling Federation. and I've given you the opportunity.
So the Cycling Federation advises us to buy aluminium.
Specifications required for your athletes.
So the aluminium bikes are new bikes. We spend money on them.
I have not seen it. But what I'm saying, I am making reference to what the minister said.
Let's clarify.
And that none of the federation heads denied it.
Then help us clarify.
All the 8 federation heads at the press conference this evening were rather lauding government and the minister for procuring those equipment for
really?
Oh yes.
Help us clarify.
Basketball, for instance, admitted that the ministry spent $500,000. Listen, basketball admitted that the ministry spent $500,000 to procure equipment for them, and they were praising the minister. So I'm surprised when it comes to this conversation, because I ask you to give me specifications. I'm not an expert. So if the equipment come and they are not fit for purpose, who do you blame?
Dan, we cannot accept this explanation because the minister has a greater duty of care in the expenditure of taxpayers' money. You cannot, not after what happened in Australia 2018, that you do not know the appropriate cycling equipment.
We knew as of 2018, and that you said, that we need fiber bikes.
So tell me,
and aluminium bikes were wrong.
Number two. So you answer the question. Number 2.
No, tell me where the minister went wrong.
Dan, I'm asking.
If the recommendations came from the
but
number 2. The second question for me is, if indeed the ministry procured bikes, why is it that Michael Maba is using his personal bicycles?
What I'm saying is,
where are the bicycles the ministry procured?
What I'm saying is a quotation by the minister at a press conference
less than
an hour ago.
The minister has the
bikes.
Listen. The LOC is not directly responsible for Team Ghana preparation. That is one thing that a lot of journalists are losing sight of. Our core duties is to organize the games. We are not responsible for Team Ghana preparations. Over the years, Ghana has had international games.
So the federation failed? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's what I'm saying. Okay. He is asking the sort of bicycles that were procured. But what I'm saying is that we are not directly involved when it comes to those equipment acquisition. But I'm only making reference to the statement made by the minister, which was not refuted.
Yeah, but you haven't answered the fundamental question. I'll bring Gary and Cohen. Let me rephrase.
I don't know why you don't want to understand me. Evans, you are the head of Ghana amateur boxing.
So
I am the minister.
So you are the spending.
I'm the spending officer.
Yes.
I give you the opportunity that Evans, give me specification that will suit your boxing.
But there's evidence.
If tomorrow you turn around to accuse me that I purchased wrong gloves for your boxers, who do you blame?
Okay, hold on, Gary. Hello, Gary.
Yes, I'm here, Evans.
Yeah, Gary. I know you wanted to make an intervention.
What's there to say except what Achu has said, that Evans, there's a duty of care. And you see, if I'm the head of my family, my son or daughter or my children say, we are going to school, we need these books. And I say, take this money and get these books to study. And they bring it back. They don't do well in the exam, and then they say, oh, these are not the books. The class teacher is going to blame them as much as the class teacher will blame me because of the simple phrase, duty of care. Because if I am the sports minister, I don't know about Honorable Mustafa Yusuf. If I am the sports minister, and I have procured, as Dan says, I wasn't at the press conference this evening, we sent a reporter, 500,000 United States dollars, Evans. And they say, let's buy X, Y, and Z equipment. And I don't double check as the sports minister to ensure that what they need is what they want, then there's a problem. I'll also say very briefly, that you see, the last games were in Morocco. I don't even want to waste too much time, so I'm just saying everything briefly. The last games were in Morocco. The same argument, you see, we say something about multimedia. You inspect, what did you say? You expect what you inspect, or something like that, right?
Yeah. Well,
expect what you expect.
People do what you inspect, not what you expect.
Thank you. It's really as simple as that. Because if I am spending, I've not seen the numbers, but Dan, thank you very much for giving that. We are going to use that copiously in the news. 500,000 United States dollars to the basketball team. And I, the sports ministry, don't have a plan B to check that what they are saying is true, even if it's true, that it meets current international standards as a fallback option, then there's a problem. And that's all I'll say. You see, everything we are saying here, and Dan's job is very difficult. That's why in all my critique, I have quietly absolved Dan, because he literally is the mouthpiece. Yeah. He's in an incredibly difficult position. Dan is not a politician. Dan is not a technical person. He's not an LOC official. All he has to do is to say and disseminate what he has been given. Now, our job is to know things. And this is what we know, Evans. One, in this country, Ghana, we have more than enough capable people. Because you know what? We have the men and women who today, some are going to the Olympics in a couple months, and they will be in charge of some of the things that we are not letting them do here in Ghana.
Exactly.
And that's what Jerome said. Evans, let me repeat this. For all the 30 disciplines, every single one of them, the country Ghana right now, we have world class. I need to emphasize to people watching this show, we have world class administrators who are able and competent, tried and tested, who would have averted this fiasco, even if we put them in charge as late as last November. That's job is difficult, Charlie, so he can't talk. So Dan, you leave it for us to talk. Dan, leave it for us to talk. Look, Evan, I said we have world-class people. World-class people. If any country is hosting an African Games next year, they cannot do it without Ghanaians, because we have some of the best people. The question that we will be asking after the games is, we have Evans Mensah. Why is he not doing this job and Gary Al Smith is doing this job? Because Evans Mensah has a track record. He has been here, he has been here, he has been here, he has been here. There are people who went to the World Cup in Qatar, Ghanaians. Now, guess what? Qatar invested millions of dollars. You know, the World Cup has how many countries? 32 teams, right?
Yeah.
Qatar invited the heads of security of all 32 countries, among other things. That remind me, it was the heads of security, caterers, and some other professionals, and give them free training, paid for their flights and everything. Evans, when was the World Cup? This is in 2022 December. But you will find that all these specialists are not part of the Africa Games, because I don't know.
Okay.
So that job is difficult, and we have shot ourselves in the foot. Why? I don't know.
Well, I mean, Dan, a few other questions that have come up. Yes, please. Yes, please.
You know, Dan said the World Athletics Championship is a single event or something. I don't think it's exactly the case. but we can even put that aside. I mean, Dan is in a very tight situation, like Gary was saying. You see, the point has to be made that all that is happening, it's because you need to have a system that is committed to developing sports on the basis of a set plan. And we know how the Moroccans are doing it. Gary has been in and out of Morocco. He can tell you how they have been committed to developing infrastructure in a way that excites everybody on the continent. And they don't spend as much as we have spent. So how is that possible? Look, Dan was talking about the LOC not being in charge of the Ghana team. That is true. Let's go to some critical aspects of the LOC's work. And I have said that I don't believe the LOC is in charge. On Saturday, when I went to the UG Stadium, the media center at the stadium was being fit. I mean, that was then that I saw people fixing tables for the media. I don't know any competition that open ceremony is done 24 hours later, you have people coming in to set up the place for the media. I have never seen one at any competition I have attended. So I'm saying that we have sidelined the expertise of certain people, and that's the point Gary just made. We know those who can do this job. We just didn't trust them enough to give them the millions of dollars that we say we have expended to execute this tax for us. And it's the same thing we do with football.
Yeah. I don't want to get you started on football, because once I get you started on football, you're not stopping. But Dan, so bottom line, but I'm also curious, this ambulance that had no fuel, what happened? Have you investigated it? This was yesterday, I believe. Was it yesterday? Yesterday.
Oh, Ghana.
The LOC has created a pool of buses. And once you are engaged as a private service provider, the head of transport has to align you to have pool of buses. What happened was that the ambulance service started working with the LOC with their cars already fueled. So I think there was miscommunication. But what happens is that once you engage their services and they are come with their cars already fueled, as and when it is getting finished, you have to be informed that, okay, we came with 4 tanks at a cost of 1 cedi. It is now finished, so we need refueling. Unfortunately, there was a communication gap. So that affected the commencement of the cycling. That's the only explanation.
But somebody knew the game was about to start. The guy who's driving the ambulance knew the fuel was in the car was non-existent. And you're waiting for it to start before you start running around to find fuel.
It is a service you have outsourced. So you don't have direct control.
Okay. So what's going to happen? Because if there are no consequences, this will might continue.
Well, Evans, it will be difficult to punish somebody you have outsourced to help your cause. Okay. If the ambulance services were within the remit of the LOC, like if they were an agency under the LOC, then we can say that you did your job wrongly. So
and then the late arrival of the equipment for some of the athletes, well, why?
The late arrival, honestly, I have no answers to that. Because all I was told by the minister, that's why I'm saying that the LOC is not responsible for some of the issues we are raising here. That's why I am very careful quoting the minister for some of the issues.
The ones that you can clarify, the badminton equipment, were they the ones that arrived in the country late, or they were the ones that got stuck at the ports?
These are all issues that has got to do with Team Ghana preparation.
That you don't have answers to.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about something before we wrap up. Bottom line, you want people to go there. Publicity has been an issue. I have been looking for tickets to go and watch swimming with my sons. And I struggled. I'm a journalist. And I've struggled, right? I went to the website, the ticketing wasn't working, the text message. So tell me, people want to go.
Yeah.
How do they get tickets?
Honestly, if I were in charge, I wouldn't have charged at the gate.
Okay.
And of course, you cannot wash your dirty linen in public. But from the benefit of hindsight, if the Black Stars are playing in an empty stadium, how could you feel a Black Satellites game at the same stadium, or in a stadium that has a capacity of 40,000 plus? So if I were in charge, I wouldn't go for ticket sales. What I would have done was rather to get people, bus people for the optics to come and fill the stands for us.
But you're not in charge.
But I'm not in charge.
What it is what it is. So tell us, how do you go to the games?
On the day of the opening, for instance, I do not know whether somebody was trying to hack into our system or it was a sabotage. I don't know.
It went down.
It was 2 hours to kickstart the program. Everybody who accessed the platform had a notification that it was a sold-out event. Meanwhile, the stadium was not full. So I was wondering. In fact, I had a screenshot of people. People showed me screenshots that I was trying to buy a ticket with my family to come to the stadium, but the platform.
But this has happened before.
Okay, we need to wrap up. So people need to go. Just wrap up for me. So how do you get tickets now?
Well, I spoke to the ticketing team. What they are saying now is that, with the exception of the VIP, the rest they are not going to sell. The rest is going to go for free.
From when?
From tomorrow.
So I can just walk and go and watch. Okay.
If only, but you are a VVIP, so you can just. You have to buy a ticket.
I have to buy a ticket. Okay. No problem. I will. Of course. So from tomorrow, if you're watching right now, you can just go and watch the games without paying.
Yes.
Both at
Unless
the
you want to
Baltimore.
go and sit at the VVI.
Okay, both at Baltimore and also at the
Legon.
and the Legon. Okay, that's good information. Everybody can go now and watch, and let's help them drum that information out because we need people to go.
We will. Our stars are in town.
Okay.
Azamati, Joe, Paul, and
For athletics.
the rest of the
For
pack.
athletics. Okay.
Yes. But that starts, I think, on Monday.
Next week.
Yeah, Monday.
Okay. Okay. What's happening on the weekend? Because weekend is when we can also join the.
So the games will continue. Tomorrow, for example, the 100-meter.
I mean, tomorrow we are working, so it's very difficult to go out. Something. I'll check. By the way, Dan, thank you very much. They say your job is very difficult.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. But you have to give us one line before you go. Which one have you picked in your work so far? Just one.
So the way you are boxing me to a corner, I am confused because the job is difficult.
Drop one.
Drop one. Just one.
Oh, it reminds me of gentleman Biana Okotina Trotro. Na Okoshi a girl bina or the boss will never find. The next day, an afraid girl and say, I mean, we say a PO won't get to phone. I mean, we say a PO. And the lady say, but you, who the car barber for me? I am funny, she and I was in the car.
The Trotro member, enjoy the rest of your evening. That's Dan Kwekuyubwa, the man with a difficult task. He says on tomorrow you can go and watch it for free. So please make your way there. Let's make this one. At least find a way of salvaging it. Enjoy the rest of your evening.